Hi, I'm Salarah Starre and welcome to the Salarah Starre Podcast. With over 20 years of experience, I've had the privilege of working with thousands worldwide and sharing my expertise across various media platforms. This podcast is your go-to resource for mastering manifestation and unlocking your ultimate magnetism. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode, and let's dive in. And a very warm welcome to the Salarah Starre Podcast. I am Salarah, and today we are going to be taking a deep dive into the power of your mindset. And I'm not talking about the fluffy, happy, clappy, Pollyanna, think positive and hope for the best kind of mindset either. I'm talking about the mindset that determines how you move through life on every single level. The mindset that decides whether you are going to crumble or whether you are going to rise. So this episode is for anybody who has ever felt like life can be one big relentless uphill battle, or at least feel like it at times. Like no matter what happens, you keep hitting obstacle after obstacle and wondering if things are ever going to get easier and you're ever going to manifest the things that you truly desire in life. I'm going to be sharing a mindset that absolutely turns you from victim rather into victor, and help you to see that every single challenge that you face is absolutely shaping you. It's the making of you. It's part of the becoming of you. It's part of the version of you that has already achieved the success that you desire and deserve. This, my friends, is strengthening you. Your obstacles are training you. They are part of your answered manifestations and answered prayers. And you're probably wondering, well, how the hell is that? Considering you probably feel at times that you've been dragged through a hedge backwards. So that's what we're going to be working through in this particular episode, so that you can learn to see those challenges differently. And if you're like me, that you've known this information and this wisdom for a very long time, but some challenges just kneecap you and you forget, I'm here to remind you of what you already know. I'm here to be that cheerleader in your corner right now to remind you who you are and the strength that you have available to you, and the challenges that you are facing right now are absolutely designed to make you, not break you. And when you shift this lens, you unlock access to a whole new level of you, a whole new level of strength, a whole new level of resilience, a whole new level of success, a whole new level of connectivity, of abundance, of health, you name it, you unlock it. So we're going to unpack the difference between a strong mindset and a weak one. We're going to be looking at how your internal lens is directly influencing how you feel. And then that directly influences how you behave, so how you show up. And of course, that then is going to directly influence what you are receiving, what you are creating. So we're going to look at a metaphor which helped me to understand this a little bit later on in the episode. I don't know about you, but I work much better with kind of storytelling and metaphors. And that is designed to help you see exactly where you might be giving your power away and what to do instead. So let's get into it. So why mindset is everything. So your mindset isn't just about positive thinking, like I said. The last thing we want is that happy, clappy, Pollyanna energy. In fact, it gives me the ick, if I'm really honest. You know, when I think about that kind of happy, clappy vibe, which is just think happy thoughts and everything will be okay. Focus on the positive. It's like, yeah, good luck with that. It's more than that I'm sharing with you today. This is about training yourself to have a success mindset, which is very different from surface level positive thinking. A true success mindset can create a completely new lens through which you view your world. And of course, just as we said earlier, it's going to then determine how you experience everything, how you experience your relationships. And I am talking relationships to yourself, to your family, to your friendships, to your health, to money. How you interpret these challenges you face is going to also be affected by that. how you regulate your nervous system so that you can keep it calibrated to success and open and expansive, rather than calibrated to feelings of lack and contraction in your energy field, and how you also navigate your emotions as a result of this, because it is a bit of a fine dance. We are humans. We have lots of emotions, and some things come out of left field that can turn our emotions from feeling happy and upbeat to feeling scared, fearful, or anxious in an instant. And it's like, how do we work through that? How do we regulate our emotions? How do we hold ourselves in a strong space whilst we are growing through these different challenges? Because when we have a specific lens in which we view the world through, when we cultivate a specific mindset, we will absolutely have so much more strength through these challenges, because we'll know exactly why they are happening, what we are going to achieve as a result of going through the challenges, and how actually it is the answer to our prayers. It's part and parcel of the universe helping us to receive our manifestation. So the lens I'm speaking about is the lens through which you're either going to rise or retreat. And of course, you're here because you want to rise, you want to raise your vibrations, you want to experience so much more in life. And the only way to do that is to stay plugged in to podcast episodes like this, loads of amazing authors, because unless we continuously feed this part of ourselves, some of the old habits creep in, and then we find ourselves looking at life through a more disempowered lens. So the fact that you're here, you are telling yourself and me that you are ready to rise. So let's have a look at a strong mindset versus a weak mindset. And we're just going to break this down a little bit. So a strong mindset, it's not about pretending that everything's fine. It's really important that I emphasize that. Because on the surface, we could be saying, oh, all is well and life's good to me. But actually underneath it, our solar plexus feels like it's screwed into a little ball. We've got this feeling, this horrible, heavy feeling at the pit of our stomach. We are definitely not congruent with what we are saying, because we're saying one thing and feeling something completely different. And if we think about manifestation, it works on a feelings first, manifestation second. So our feelings are always going to be more powerful, and our mindset does directly influence our feelings. So a strong mindset is not about the happy clappy Pollyanna, which we spoke about, and it's not about bypassing your emotions either. And it's certainly not about numbing them out. But what it is about is the ability to sit in your discomfort without trying to make it go away, without trying to wish it into a positive state, without making it mean something negative about who you are either, because that's when the issues arrive. When we start making it mean something negative about ourselves or our life, that's when we start feeding something that isn't there. That's when we go into a meaning-making mindset, because some of our core beliefs have been activated. I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not important, whatever it might be. And because that core belief has now been activated, we are now looking at the challenge through that limited lens. And that's why I'm here to remind you that this is about accepting there is always going to be a level of discomfort as you grow and as you evolve and as you become this more empowered, higher vibrational version of you. It's about shedding some of the old layers, and that involves some relationships leaving, that involves some old patterns coming up to the surface for you to begin remedying. It's not going to be easy, right? And that's not me being negative either. This is about choosing your heart. It's going to be hard to stay where you are and embed and ingrain some of those old patterns even deeper and even more. And it's going to be hard for you to start to shift some of those patterns and start claiming your abundant, prosperous, loving, connected birthright. So either way, it's going to be difficult. You may as well choose the hard that is going to bring you that abundance, that prosperity, that love, that joy, that connection, that peace, that laughter. It's going to unlock so much more, and it's going to be so much more rewarding going down the pathway of viewing challenges through this lens and developing a stronger mindset. And this does mean taking ownership of things instead of blaming others. We're in a culture where if something happens, everybody's taking an inventory of all the bad things that the other person did, instead of looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, like, what part did I play in the creation of this? Where was I out of integrity? Where was I not being honest? Where did I act out of fear? Where was I acting out of greed? Where was I feeling anxious and trying to numb that anxiety by doing X, Y, and Z? So this is so important. This is probably one of the most important parts of cultivating a strong mindset, is taking ownership instead of stepping into that reactive victim mentality, because you're just going to see more to be a victim of or about, because what we focus on expands. So it's not always easy to do this stuff, but it's having that willingness to cultivate this mindset. And it takes time, it takes years, and you're going to be faced with lots of different challenges that you haven't ever been faced with before. So just when you think you've nailed it, you're going to get kneecapped again, and it's going to be like, oh, okay, so I haven't nailed it in this particular area. But the more you work with this understanding, the easier these challenges become. They still leave you feeling defeated or fearful or vulnerable, whatever they might be, but you understand that actually the foundation of the challenge is designed to help you unlock something extraordinary ultimately. So learning to regulate your emotions before responding. Sometimes I find that easier than others, depending on what the challenge is, especially if it's a challenge I haven't been through before. I'm not as good as regulating them. Challenges that I've been through before, I've had a good amount of practice. I find it a lot easier to regulate my emotions. So instead of a knee-jerk reaction, which in my experience doesn't ever go down well, I do my best now to take some time and to breathe through certain challenges so I can look at, right, what is my part within this? What belief patterns are being activated, which is making me respond to this in a certain way? So I give myself time and spaciousness, basically. So when we regulate our emotions before responding, it gives us time to get in touch with this healthier mindset for navigating the challenge. And this helps us then to adapt our strategy as we move forward. So things aren't always going to go our way, but what we can do is learn certain mindset shifts that can help us to move through these. And not only will we get through them a lot quicker because we have less resistance and we're creating less kind of snapback energy because we're not feeding it in the same way that we may have done. We're looking at, right, why is this happening for me? Where is my opportunity for growth? And what part have I played in the creation of this? And this helps us to stay committed to our goals, even when it feels hard. Whereas on the other side, if we look at the weaker mindset, and of course I say that with so much compassion and not judgment. I mean, my word, the weakened mindset that I've had so much of my life, it's taken me a lot to cultivate this mindset that I'm sharing with you today. And I don't always get it right. I'm a lot better, but I don't always get it right because some things come when I least expect them at the worst time, especially, you know, being a feminine energy and the cycles that come along with that. You give me a challenge in one part of my cycle, I'm going to nail it. Another part of my cycle, I'm going to really struggle with it too. So there's a lot of considerations here. But the weaker mindset, it's almost like over-identifying with emotions. So what do I mean by that? So getting into that kind of victim mentality, getting really into feeding the part of us that feels that we have been wronged in some way. And that's when we blame the world, we blame the universe, we blame God, we blame other people. Well, it wouldn't have happened like this if he or she didn't do that. And of course she did this, which meant that I did that, and she didn't, or he did this. And the list can go on and on and on. And all that does is feed something and create more and more of it. Whereas sometimes if we can, and this takes practice, but if we can step back from it and look at it objectively and take ourselves through a process, we're more able then to identify where the challenge was perhaps invited in by ourselves without us realizing it in the first place, or indeed how we may have then at least fed it. And then we start to get stuck in this emotion. And like I say, we don't just get stuck in that bubble of emotion. The more we feed it, the more it expands, the more it grows, and the more evidence we then have to prove ourselves right, when a lot of it was always kind of made up in our mind anyway, because we weren't able to step back and look at it objectively. So a weaker mindset is almost avoiding the discomfort. And that is, again, what I'm mentioning about the blame. There's loads more that we can talk through about this, but just in a nutshell, many of us avoid discomfort instead of growing through it. So we fall into this most of the time. Most of us are unaware that we've even done it. I've spent most of my life in victim mentality, so I feel like I kind of know that really well. And when I realized that there's a victor mentality and turning your garbage into your gifts, and these things aren't here to break you, they're here to make you, it was a game changer. And that meant that I was able to move through my challenges rather than staying stuck in them, and quite often inviting more of the same. So I don't know if you've ever noticed that you have experienced very similar challenges with lots of different types of people. The challenge is the same, but the people and the experiences may differ. They may have different faces, different ages. It's because we haven't learned what we need to learn. So we keep repeating until we start to look at it through this more empowered lens, and we grow and we learn from these. Once we learn, we can then move on to our next challenge, and life gets so much easier and more beautiful in between. So to understand this, a teacher of mine once led me through a metaphor, and it's a bit like if you think of life as a little bit of a game. So I'll take you on a bit of a journey with me for this one. So imagine that you and I, we hop on a plane, on a private jet, on a helicopter, whichever you prefer, and we set off on a bit of a global mission. We're on a global mission searching for the very best of the best elite athletes who are strong, agile, focused, 20/20 vision, in peak condition, the kind of people who could pretty much win anything that they set their mind to. And after going on a bit of a journey together, having a few laughs along the way and seeing various parts of the world, we find these 12 elite athletes. And without telling them anything at all, so imagine, right, we find these athletes, we're telling them nothing. We're not telling them anything about why they're there, the destination, the plan. We just invite them to come with us. So it's kind of a bit of a blind faith thing, I guess. They say yes, which I find a bit odd, but this is obviously just a story. So they say yes, they trust the process, and they board the jet. Then we fly them back. I'm based in the UK, so we'll say we fly them back to England, and we take them directly to the nearest playing field. And still not a word of instruction whatsoever. And once they step onto the pitch, we just look at them and we just say, go on then, play. Now, as we say that, what can you imagine happens next? We've told these players nothing. They're all from different backgrounds. They all are different types of athletes. So it's not even like it's one specific game, because they all come from different athletic modalities, if that's the right word. But remember, these are world-class athletes, right? They have skills, they have the discipline, they have the raw talent, but they don't know what game they're playing. They don't have any rules. They have no context. They have no roles. They have no understanding of what success looks like or what they're even aiming for. And as we wait, we start to watch what unfolds on the pitch. So you've probably got a few ideas in your mind now already. You're definitely going to have chaos, right? Regardless of anything. Some of them are just going to be stood there looking completely confused. Some of them think that they know what they're doing and try and lead other people. Some other people don't want to be led because they don't agree what the others were doing, and they might start a fight. They might talk or shout over one another. You'll have some taking charge, but nobody knows if they're even right. Some make up their own rules, while others just walk off the pitch and they just quit entirely. They don't quit because they're not good enough, but because they're unprepared for the structure that they've been placed into. They've got all the gifts, they've got all the talent, but they've got no understanding and no framework whatsoever. And this is exactly what life can feel like when we don't understand how it works. You can be born with exactly the same abilities, smart, talented, hardworking, spiritual even, but still feel stuck, frustrated, and like you're constantly messing up and like you're not really moving forward at the pace that you would like to. And this isn't because you're not good enough. And this isn't because you don't have what it takes. And this is not because you're a failure or you're failing. It's because you were never handed the rule book. You were never told what game you were playing. You were never told what position you were meant to be in. You were never told who the opponent of your game is even. And to really succeed at anything, whether it's your health, your relationships, your career, growth of any kind, you need to understand 4 key things. You need to understand what the game actually is. You need to understand what your role here is, the rules that govern the game, and of course, the opponent, who the opponent is, why the opponent's important. The opponent is the internal force that challenges you to grow. If we didn't have an opponent on the playing field, let's just say football for the purpose of this. Imagine if we had this team, they were great football players, and there was no opponent. What would be the point? They wouldn't be challenged. They wouldn't be stretched. They wouldn't grow. There would be no point and no purpose to the game whatsoever. So they absolutely have to have an opponent. Now, with us, if we look at the game in relation to our life, we don't ever really have an opponent outside of ourselves. We might think it's the friend that's let us down, or the great aunt who called us something when we're younger and we never got over it. We may think these things, but a lot of the time, especially as we're adults, because there's a lot of things we cannot help that happened to us when we were younger. Some of it, was at the hands of some adults that, quite frankly, did a terrible job of damaging many of us. I'm talking now about cultivating the mindset that can help you become a winner and move up and beyond any limitations that were forced or placed upon you growing up. So please know that this is not about some of the trauma and the hurt that you experienced when you were younger. That's not your fault. It's like Will Smith says, it's not your fault what happened to you, but it is your responsibility to change it. And I do believe that. I believe that it's our responsibility to change our life. It's our responsibility to become a stronger player in the game of our own life. And it's our responsibility to learn a mindset that can help us to become a winner in the game of our own life. So if we then look at the opponent is inside of you. The opponent isn't outside. The opponent isn't the lady at the shop who shortchanged you, or the traffic warden who gave you a fine for being a minute late. The opponent is how we react and how we respond to these challenges, which is the biggest issue. It can mean we either stay stuck and feed the negativity of that challenge even more and create more of the same, but like the snowball effect, or we can cultivate a mindset that can help us to stop creating the snowball effect and look at the part that we played in the creation of that and our own inner opponent that has somehow, somewhere created this challenge for us. There's loads more to this, by the way. So if there might be questions coming up in your head, I absolutely invite you, Salarah@salarahstarre.com. If you let me know any questions to do with the metaphor of the game of life, I would love to answer them because I think they're so important. And when we have these pieces in place, when we understand that the opponent and how we react and how we respond, it isn't outside of us, it's inside of us. That's not saying other people don't have a responsibility. They do. They absolutely do. They have the ability to cultivate a mindset of taking accountability and responsibility as well. They are also here to create a life that they are proud of and a life that they are worthy of and they are deserved, just like we are. So everybody can benefit from this wisdom. So imagine a world where we all take accountability, we all take responsibility, we make amends for the part that we play in the hurt that we create anybody, but we understand that life is one big circle. And what we tend to give out, we tend to get back at some point. That's kind of like the law of karma, if you like. And I really like that because I think if we use the metaphor of the game of life and we then look at karmic energy, that's one of the rules of the game. What you give out, you will get back. And sometimes we think we're giving out good things, but actually maybe underneath it, we were people pleasing or trying to be loved or trying to be seen or trying to look like we're the bigger person or whatever it might be. karma will always come and balance the scales in one way or another. So therefore, if this energy comes to me in my life, I will absolutely take it on the chin, because maybe there was somewhere in my life that I wasn't awake. So in other words, I didn't know that I didn't know. And I created some karmic energy for myself. And now I'm experiencing the comeback and the payback for that. That's okay. When we understand it that way, we understand that the universe creates this balancing effect. And it's not that we're being punished. We're never punished. We are in response to our own energy that we have given out at some point. So going back to the opponent in life, the opponent isn't always easy to identify. And like I said, it's not somebody outside of you waving a red flag or blocking your path, but it's often the voice in your head, the one that whispers, you're not ready, or you're not good enough, or like, who do you think you are? Like, what's wrong with you? Or you're not important, so why would they want you? So imagine on the football pitch, if our opponent came up to one of our players and said, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you'll never score a goal. And we believed them and we ran off the pitch crying. We would never become stronger players. But instead of saying, why me? You say, try me. And you look that opponent in the eye and say, you know what? I may not get that goal, but I'm going to at least give it a go. And I'm going to keep trying and trying and trying. And one day that's going to get in the net. And every single time I try, I'm going to get stronger and stronger and stronger in that space. Sometimes the opponent will show up as fear, self-doubt. Sometimes it's the habit of holding yourself back. So that kind of self-sabotaging, if you like, whether that be procrastinating or people-pleasing. And sometimes it looks like a life circumstance that can push every one of your buttons, whether it's relationship breakdowns, falling out with friends, health issues, losing job, or whatever it might be. So the mindset shift here is remembering that your opponent, it's not here to break you. It's here to build you. It's here to give you embodied strength, not just a belief in your strength, but an actual embodied somatic knowing of your strength and ability to rise. If you think just like the resistance that you may experience at the gym, as certain weights and positions will kind of tear some of the muscles and then rebuild the muscle to make you stronger, life's resistance is a training ground too for your emotional strength. It tears you down to build you up, your mental strength, your energetic strength. It's refining you. It's calling you for something deeper. So now, if the athlete on our pitch hears the opponent saying, you're useless, you'll never make it, instead of using that as fuel and believing it, they'll run off the pitch. Like I said, they'll shrink. And that's what many of us do unconsciously. We unconsciously shrink. We unconsciously give up. We internalize the voice of the opponent and we mistake it for truth. We convince ourselves it's the truth. We think resistance means stop, when actually resistance means grow. Quite often our ego will, and this is another word for the opponent, by the way, will dig its heels in and create mass amount of resistance if you're just about to head in a specific direction. And that's actually a really good sign, because it shows you're going to make some kind of breakthrough. And that's when you're going to grow. So you can start seeing the opponent, the resistance, whatever it might be, as your coach instead of a curse. And this is when your whole game of your life completely changes. So remember, your mindset is going to influence how you feel. Think about manifestations. It's feelings first, manifestations second. So if your mindset influences how you feel, and how you feel shapes what you notice in your reality, and what you notice in your reality determines how you respond, and how you respond creates more of that reality, depending on which lens you're looking at the world through. Whether it's the victim lens or the victor lens is going to determine whether you stay stuck or whether you grow. So if your mindset is rooted in life's against me, you're going to find constant evidence to back that up. Your brain will literally scan your environment for proof and more proof and more proof till you actually convince yourself of the story that you've been telling yourself. But if you shift into, there's something here for me, there's an opportunity here for me, suddenly your growth is going to become possible. your insights will become more powerful and available. And this is where you're going to feel more power and empowered. But a reminder, this isn't about pretending that everything's fine when it's not. It's about choosing the lens that keeps you empowered and connected to your agency, no matter what is unfolding. That's the foundation of a success mindset. Not perfect thoughts, but intentional ones. So imagine yourself as this elite athlete arriving on the pitch of life. You've got all the tools, you've got all the potential, you've got all the power. But how have you been playing? Have you been blaming everyone else, saying it's their fault that things haven't worked out the way that you wanted them to? Have you not taken responsibility or accountability for the part that you've played in the creation of what you've been experiencing? Have you been waiting for somebody to give you permission, perhaps? Have you been overthinking or second-guessing your every move? Or perhaps just sitting on the sidelines and watching everybody else? But now imagine the version of you that suddenly knows the game. Something's woken up, something's switched on. You absolutely understand your position. You absolutely understand and have studied the rules. You know exactly where the opponent is, and you're not afraid of it anymore. How does that version of you show up? What decisions does that version of you make? And what energy do they carry? This is the shift. This is how you rewire a victim mindset into a powerful victor mindset through having awareness, reflecting on what's happened, taking responsibility and accountability, and knowing that you have choice. You get to choose. But life is not about winning or losing, but it is about showing up. It is about having your skin in the game. It is about being an active participant in your experience, wholeheartedly, honestly, consistently showing up. It's about understanding that success does not come from avoiding struggle. 9 times out of 10, what we resist will persist anyway. And if we try and avoid struggle, we just create more and more of it. But it comes from engaging with it differently. So when you shift from victim to victor to the active player, everything changes. You stop saying, why me? And start saying, watch me or try me. You stop letting the lens of fear put you on the bench or walk you off the pitch, and you start using it to sharpen your focus. A success mindset definitely is not about having it all figured out, but it is about deciding again and again that you are in the game and that you're not going to quit on yourself. Even when the scoreboard is not showing you what you want, you keep showing up. You keep learning. You keep becoming. If this episode has spoken to you, or there's somebody in your life that could really do with a reminder of the power of who they are and help get their mindset and their thoughts on track, then please send this to them. If you personally feel like you're ready to go deeper, you want more tailored support to shift your mindset and unlock your next level, please reach out. I have a slight waiting list for my one-to-one, but we can definitely have an explorative call to see whether it's right for you. But for now, have your skin in the game. Keep playing up, keep evolving. And remember, you were not made to sit on the sidelines. You were made to master the game. Until next time, sending you lots of love. Thank you for tuning in to the Salarah Starre Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit subscribe so that you never miss out. And you can stay connected with me on Instagram at Salarah Starre. And for even more inspiration and explore my courses and coaching at salarahstarre.com. You deserve to live a deeply connected and fulfilling life. And it's only you that can make it happen.